So I made this video because I felt that it was time to talk about this. For a while now, the past 3 months or so, if you follow my videos, you have seen that I'm on this body transformation journey, which there's been a lot involved, right? But although I share a lot of like my training and the workouts that I'm doing, and I share like the physical transformation so you can see how my body's been changing, which is great. But what I haven't talked about is kind of what's going on behind the scenes, and what's really kind of made it all possible. And I think it's important to share that because that's like the real stuff that is like the foundation of this whole thing. It's like all transformation, regardless of what the goal is, whether it's with, your body and your health, or, with any other goal that you have in your life, all transformation begins, I believe, on the inside. It's an inside out process. Mine actually was like, this whole thing was set in motion from literally decades of extreme workouts that were not healthy or sustainable for me, and I think did more harm than good in the long run. I had unhealthy eating habits where, I could go good for a while and I could eat healthy during the week, but then when the weekend came around, it's like I would just binge. I would succumb to like periods of emotional eating and just uncontrollable cravings and things I just couldn't control it, and it would just drive me right off the rails. So even though I might put together a good quote unquote healthy week, by the end of the weekend it would be all undone, and I couldn't figure out how to stop. And then of course I had a 30-year drinking problem. 30 years, 3 decades of really destructive drinking, almost every single night, with a few exceptions where, I stopped for some short periods, but always ended up going back. So it's like when you add all of that up, it just, over the period of like 30 years, it just like literally wreaked havoc on my gut health, my physical health, my mental health. And, I was struggling a lot with like this imposter syndrome, because on one hand it's like I'm dealing with all these issues, right? And I've got all these struggles. I'm dealing at the time with like anxiety and depression. I was diagnosed in 2002 with generalized anxiety disorder. I was struggling with my weight, and I had health problems. I had like severely high blood pressure for a long time, and I had chronic pain. And it was like, on the one hand I'm dealing with all that, and then on the other hand I'm a personal trainer where my job is showing people how to lose weight and get healthy and get fit. And I really struggled with feeling kind of like a fraud, because it's like, how am I supposed to be doing this for a living and teaching people this when I can't even get a hold and a handle on my own like stuff, on my own issues that are going on with my health. So I struggled for a long time with that, and it wasn't until March of 2021, March 25th of 2021. So it was like 3 decades, 30 years of, all these kind of things that led to this moment where, I was faced on that day. I'll never forget. It was like I was faced with like my own mortality. It was almost like staring my mortality in the face. And I knew, I had kind of gotten some news about my health. My health was not doing good. And it had gotten to the point where, over the years, I could kind of deny it. I could repress it, I could avoid it. And I was always able to kind of get myself to think that, it wasn't that bad, right? I still had time, I could still get away with it. But 3 years ago, March 25th, 2021, it all changed. And I knew it was like, I can't get away with this anymore. And it was literally for me like a choice where I felt it was life or death. It's like I either change now, make some serious changes, or I'm gonna die a lot sooner. And I really didn't feel like I had a lot longer to go if I kept going this route. And the thing about it was like, I started to think, I think, when getting in my 50s now, it's like I started to look at my life very differently than I did in my 20s and even my 30s, and even my 40s to that degree. In my 50s, it was like I started thinking about legacy. What am I leaving behind when my time here is done in this life? Like, what am I leaving behind, in this world? And not only that, but like for my family, with my daughter, with like Cheryl and, and all the kids. And I really, I couldn't stomach it. Like, it was so painful to think if my daughter lost her dad at a young age, because something happened to me and I didn't do anything to stop it when I could have. By then it's too late. And it scared me. It really scared me. And so it was like this life or death kind of, that's how I looked at it. It's life or death. And that, if things were going to change, if I wanted to, kind of create a better legacy, something that I really wanted to live on long after I was gone, something that I wanted my family to be proud of, if I wanted to make the impact in the world that I wanted, like, I've got these big goals, this big vision. And I think I've known for a long time, or I really strongly feel in myself that I've meant for big things and to do great things in this world. I think we all are, but I wasn't doing them. And this was the time. It was like, if I'm going to do this, the change starts now. And that was the day where the change really started. The transformation, my physical transformation was more in the past 3 months, where there's been some serious changes. But this transformation, like I said, it's an inside out job. It started, over 3 years ago, March 25th of 2021. That's when it started, and it was set in motion. So for me, it's like I had to start with like the main elephant in the room, which was like the drinking issue. Along the way, like, there was a lot of work. It wasn't just stopping drinking and all of this stuff. It was like I had to do some serious inner work on myself, and again, I think that's the process of transformation, where it starts. It's an inside out job, and it means that, we, in order to achieve the thing we want on the outside, whether it's, losing weight, changing our physical appearance, or a career change. I had to, like, I was changing careers as well. I was like unhappy. I was desperately unhappy and unfulfilled. I was just going through, feeling like I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't, I had this potential I wasn't living up to, and I was a failure as a father and as a provider and as a partner, even to Cheryl. Like, no one told me that, but it's what I lived with every day. I was so self-conscious and embarrassed about my physical appearance. Again, here I am, the personal trainer. I'm like supposed to be the picture of health and fitness, and yet I'm like trying to hide behind clothes and stuff because I didn't want anybody to see that I was struggling with my body. I was struggling with my weight. I had health problems. And I was really afraid of what people might think or say about me because of it. And, so it's like all the work to make the changes happen began on the inside. And it took, all that work. So, I share this because I think that, I want to be honest about the things that I struggle with, but also I think that for anybody else who's out there who's struggling with similar issues, maybe similar to mine or whatever, and maybe has you got some big goals that you want to achieve and you're struggling to achieve them. And you get to that point where you start thinking like it's never going to happen, or it's too late, or like I'm too old. I mean, look at, I'm sitting there in, like my 50s, thinking, how the hell am I going to change my careers now? I've had 25-year career as a trainer. Now I'm going to change. That means I got to go back to school. That means I've got to go get a degree. I don't have the time for it. I'm too busy to do it. I've got bills to pay and a family to support. Like, I just, how am I going to make that happen? And I'm like 50 something here. Who the hell goes back to school at 50? Well, I mean, I think more people do than I was thinking, but it just shows how limited my thought process was at the time. My physical transformation, it was like I struggled so much for so long with my weight and, with my body and my health, because deep down, I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I was so unhappy with myself and feeling like a fraud that it just drove me. It drove me to binge eat and to eat things that weren't healthy for me. It drove me to drink every single night so I could escape the pain that I was in, because I really did not want to feel that. And that was my escape. So, this is something I just wanted to get out and kind of share, because I feel like there might be other people as well who share similar struggles, who are looking for answers that maybe they're not finding, and if this in some way can help, then, I think it's important enough for me to share this, even though sharing it's not the easiest thing for me to do. Made a couple notes here so I don't forget anything, but I think that going through like a transformation, it's like, it can seem like a daunting task, because a lot of times it's like where we want to be can seem so far away from where we are now, and it just can seem overwhelming. It can seem frustrating, like, how am I ever going to get there? I'm like, I should have done this by now. I can't do it, right? We feel like it's too late. We're too old. It's too hard. It's too much work. We're too busy. There's just a million things going on, and I'll be the first person to say that, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I've got things going on as well. I'm trying to balance this thing with my health and all of this, and finding the time for my training, finding the time to prep my meals and eat the food I need to eat, and balance it with my work when I'm working, and with my all my schoolwork. It's a ton. I'm going through a master's program. Like, I have zero time, it seems like. And then trying to find time to balance time with the family and do family things. It's a constant juggling act. But, it's like, I think we can do anything we put our minds to, that the things that we value the most and that are really the most important to us, we find a way, we find the time, we somehow can figure it out how to do it. It's just a matter of like the priorities. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. It's simple, as the saying goes, simple but not easy. And I find a lot of truth in that. But, I think with that transformation, for anybody, like, when you're struggling with it and it's daunting and you're overwhelmed and you're frustrated and you're feeling like it's never going to happen, or you don't know where to begin, it all starts on the inside. It's like, I think we look to chase the things on the outside. Like, even with losing weight, it's like, what do I need to eat? Like, what diet do I need, or what workout do I need to do? And instead, it's like, in order for all of that to stick, it's like we have to become the person who's capable of achieving all of that. The physical transformation that I wanted that I'm still looking to achieve, it's not going to happen if I'm just looking at like, what workouts do I need and what food do I need to do, and I'm just looking at that. It began with me going, okay, I have to change and become the person who has that kind of physique, who has that kind of health, who has that career. Like, I have to become that person in here in myself before I'm going to realize it out here. It all starts on the inside, and that was the work. I had to get that kind of align with that and shift an entire like lifetime of self-limiting beliefs, of non-serving like thoughts and emotions, and perspectives that were very limited, or a perspective that was very limited, expectations that were set so damn low because I didn't believe I was capable of anything more. And I really had to work to overcome that in order to like get on this road to make these things happen. And that's where the transformation starts. It's like, until we do that inner work and become the person on the inside who's capable of achieving the things that we want to be, do, and have, that's when we struggle. We don't do the inner work, and then we always struggle. So it's like we struggle sticking with diets. We struggle like being consistent with workouts. We can't find our motivation. It's like, oh my God, I don't have the motivation to do this maybe we lose weight and then we gain it all back. I've been down that road many times. And it stems from that because we didn't do the inner work first. But when we get that inner work done, that transformation, once it clicks on the inside, the things that we have to do out here, it's not, I won't say it's not hard. It's hard, but it falls into place. It just tends to fall into place. And I think that's the most important thing to understand about it. It's like, we don't need to chase all the things out here with what to do. These things will come into place once we do the work in here. So that's kind of what I wanted to share. And I'm just kind of hoping that anybody who's struggling with, achieving the things that you want in your life, just know it begins with becoming that person on the inside before you'll achieve it on the outside. But it's definitely possible. Like, there's so much that we're capable of, and we never really realize it, how strong we can be. That's what this transformation has really taught me. It's taught me so much because it's forced me to overcome challenges, to overcome very like narrow and limited thinking. It has forced me to dig deep within myself when I didn't think I could dig any deeper or I could push myself anymore. And it's really kind of revealed who I really am, what I'm really capable of, how strong I can be, and what's possible. And I think like that's the same thing for all of us. Like, we are capable of so much more than we realize. We're a lot stronger than we'll ever know. And there's like deeper levels that we can dig into within ourselves and heal in order to become who we want and live the life that we want. So I've gone on long enough, but I just wanted to share that, and I hope that helps in some way. So I'm going to take off for now. But in the meantime, that's all I've got. I'm going to wrap this up.